Good morning, everyone. A few of us are still trickling in, so we'll give them a couple minutes. But my name is Marcus Woodard. I'm the Marketing Programs Manager here at Allego, and just wanted to go through a couple housekeeping items before we got started. For attending today's webinar, those that provided a valid U.S. mailing address will receive a free copy of Mastering Virtual Selling, Orchestrating Sales Success, written by two of Allego's co-founders, Yu-Chun Lee and Mark McNacka, as well as sales guru Tony Geary. If you didn't provide your address, go ahead and do so now through the chat or the questions tab, and I'll add you to the list. We do have a couple ebook offers at the end of the webinar, so stay tuned for that. And at the conclusion, there is a brief 3-question survey that helps us keep improving these events. So make sure you take that survey. We do value your feedback, so take a minute and complete that at the end. This presentation is being recorded, and I'll shoot out an on-demand recording within a day or two. At the end of today's webinar, there is a Q&A session as well. So like I said, you can submit those through the chat or questions. I'll try and take some as we go. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Tanner Mezel, VP of Sales and Marketing at DSG, and Jake Miller, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Allego. Jake, Tanner, welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcus. Welcome, Tanner.
Yeah, good to be here.
It's great. Thank you, everybody. We're really excited to speak to you about this topic today. Really pumped to have Tanner here to be able to share a lot of really good perspective from all the work that he does and all the work that they do over at DSG, working with sales teams across different industries to navigate this new world. And of course, on our side over at Allego, we see a lot of different organizations being a technology provider, and we see how a lot of different folks are doing things. So that's kind of the perspective that we're going to be bringing to this today. So yeah, really excited to just kind of jump right in.
Yeah, great. Good to be with you guys. And just one piece of background. So I've been with DSG 22 years. DSG became part of Corporate Visions just in the last 2 weeks. I've actually been in Allego for the past 2 weeks doing my onboarding at Corporate Visions and learned a ton, and also been able to dig deep into your platform. So look forward to diving in.
That's awesome. Thanks, Tanner. All right, everybody. So yeah, let's start off with a quick poll. So as far as, obviously hiring, onboarding, this is a major focal point and the topic of this webinar. So love to kind of just start off. How many sales professionals do you expect to hire and onboard this year in 2022? Would love to hear from everyone. Is it less than 5? Is it 5 to 10, 11 to 50, 50 plus? Would love to hear from folks here. And Tanner, what are you seeing as far as any changes, in hiring patterns and companies bringing on sales reps in this, going into 2022? Have you seen any big changes?
It just continues for our clients, that we'll see the acceleration. And so on the one hand, you've got some organizations, depending on their industry, a lot of attrition, and that creates all the onboarding need. And then you have others that they are scaling for growth. So depending on your market, you're still adding a lot of people because you need capacity. And so I'd say the vast majority of our clients from either path, that acceleration continues. Not surprised here to see so many people coming in at 5 to 10 at the low end, and a lot at the 50 plus.
Yeah, that's a pattern we've seen too. It's like a lot of hiring, a lot of changes, a lot of folks leaving, so it's having to replace a lot of roles and things like that. So thank you, everybody. Yeah, so that the results are in. It's 50 plus. The biggest answer, 50 plus, 32% of you, and then the 5 to 10 was the least amount of you. So we're definitely, onboarding is a big challenge for the majority of folks on this call today, and something that we're going to have to really address into 2022. So hopefully we can add some value for you today, give you some things to walk away with and actually take back to your business. All right, we can keep on going. And actually, Tanner, I'll probably hand it over to you to kind of just talk through some of the changes that you guys are seeing over at DSG in this new environment.
Yeah. So I mean, the first one won't be a surprise. I mean, it's just the vast majority of learners are going to be learning remotely. And I think for a lot of us in our past, kind of the past cycles of our careers, when we joined a new organization, we were doing so much of that learning in person. And in the last 2 years, it's just dramatic. The shift, obviously, if you're going to be learning at home, a lot of that's going to be self-directed. I think a big thing that we're seeing clients wrestle with is how do you incorporate the experiential so that when sellers are coming on, it's not just I'm watching, I'm listening, I'm reading, but the experience, like this guy in this video, like potentially he's on a call with a colleague or a manager, he's practicing, he's role playing, he's recording video, he's submitting, but the experiential side is just so critical. And we see organizations just trying to get that right. And on the right, think of this as a rep that's just, overwhelmed. And so they're in the system and they've got 25 courses they need to finish this week, and they're not wanting to watch the next 1 hour cycle. And so you've got those remote learners that just get really overwhelmed by the amount of stuff they're supposed to direct themselves through as they do that remote learning. So I think those are three that we're seeing a ton of.
That's really interesting. And as far as, are you finding that a lot of organizations, because being more remote and then trying to drive more experiential learning, I feel like those two could be a little bit at odds, or make it a little more challenging to kind of simulate,
That's the heart of it. I think you're at the heart of it. I think that's the core of when you start to get that right, those new reps, those new salespeople just gain confidence so much faster. They're able to apply it in the real world so much faster. But if they're stuck with just the remote side of it, it's theoretical.
Yeah. And then making folks more overwhelmed too. I mean, I would imagine, again, with the remote piece, it's just, you don't have as much, it's not as hands-on. So you can't shepherd people through as easily. You can't do as much, it's not as hands-on. So I can imagine.
How do I know I'm making progress?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's okay to have a lot going on if at some point you're hitting markers and you're making tremendous progress and you're getting the thumbs up. Without that, you can just get stuck.
Yep. That's interesting. Excellent. All right. And then to kind of piggyback on some of the things that we're seeing just on the, as a technology vendor working with companies across different industries, to revamp onboarding, right? Onboarding is the onboarding technology is a technology we provide. So we do get a little bit of a bird's eye view, kind of seeing how different organizations are doing things. Some of the stuff that we're seeing, record turnover, obviously, the onboarding becomes such a big challenge when you have to, when you're losing employees. And obviously right now we're seeing a huge empowerment across the employee base, and folks were already jumping from company to company, but now it's even greater. Right. And so onboarding is, so many organizations are putting a huge emphasis on their onboarding program now because you have to. Another challenge, outdated processes. So many folks when pandemic first hit, we were just hit with, okay, what do we do? We've got to take this now. We've got a program for onboarding. It's a 2-week boot camp. We can't just have everybody sitting on a Zoom call for all day for 2 weeks. So how do we start to revamp the whole way we do this program? So that has been over the last 2 years we've seen a huge change, and really getting just much more use out of kind of asynchronous content, is doing things on asynchronously, so not on like right now this would be synchronous, right? We're speaking live, you're hearing me live, but asynchronous would be if we record this and then somebody watches it next week. That's asynchronous, that kind of content. And then that creates a whole challenge for creating that content, which is something, Tanner, I'd love, we'll talk about.
No, it's so true. Yeah, because what you record at a meeting that seems so perfect for that live setting, then someone watches that remotely and goes, well, I wasn't there and I'm not having the same experience.
Right. Exactly. It's not just a 1-for-1 thing. You can't just say, okay, let's just take everything that we did in person and bring it to virtual conference. I I think a lot of folks did that initially, and it fell flat. And so then it's like, okay, what do we do? And then ensuring reps are dedicating time, not as it's the same problem as reps getting overwhelmed. It's or the same source of that problem. You don't have as much hands-on time with them. You don't have as much, you can't reach them as easily, right, in this environment. Company culture is a challenge, of course, with trying to ensure that the new reps are sticking around and not attriting right away, not seeing that new hire attrition. And company culture and getting folks acclimated as quickly as possible is hugely important. Talk a little about how some of the stuff that we see organizations doing as far as leveraging some internal subject matter experts and leveraging video to kind of create a sense of community within the company and things of that nature. And then mapping the ramp up calendar, just understanding, okay, what are the milestones that we need to think about? How do we design our program? And then how do we understand who is succeeding and know who is succeeding or not? And, before it becomes an issue. So
that's so true. They don't, for a salesperson, a completion score just doesn't scratch that itch.
Right.
Like I completed it and that's just not enough. And it's that I'm succeeding, I'm doing well, I'm growing, and I'm hitting important milestones. I mean, I'm going to have success in the future. That's great.
Yeah. Thinking about what are the kinds of things that we should be, 3 months in, how, should it be, do they have they've booked X number of meetings, have they gone through and, taken the more advanced level trainings for some of the industries that we may sell, whatever it might be, but just kind of mapping that out. What does a successful first year look like? Surprising how many folks haven't done that to a T. And then you're trying to, you see a person 6 months in and you're trying to figure out, is this person on the right track? If you haven't figured that out beforehand, mapped it, it's going to be hard.
It is.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, ramp times. So this is the key. I mean, one of the as far as for sales onboarding, right? This is the metric, right? Decreasing the ramp times. And it's not, and there's different ways to think about measuring that. It's important for each of you to go back and kind of determine how, what does a successful rep, how much are they producing within the first year? Right? Is it, X, what percentage of the quota should it be? And then how, what would be the period of time between when they first get hired and then to when they are in that 12-month period of producing at full quota? So if you cut it, you divide it by 12, there's a certain monthly amount. And then, okay, how many months between when they got hired and then when they're like in a 12-month period of hitting that, that number, right? And so that's kind of one way to think about it. But as far as making sure that we are designing how we train folks in onboarding to accommodate this, right? And to give folks the information that they need at the point of need. So there's different ways to do it, but one of the things that we think about a lot is, and we see a lot of organizations focusing on, is just in time versus just in case. It's about, we think in terms of kind of just boiling the ocean kind of, and trying to train every new hire on every single thing. But right, if does a new rep who has not yet made their first call, do they really need to know how to use the order processing system? That's kind of the classic example. It's like, no, definitely not. We can break that off and give them that kind of more on that just in case basis. But what kind of stuff are you guys seeing around this, Tanner, as far as, just in time, just in case, and how it impacts ramp times?
And we kind of think about the just in case as the library. And there are those moments when someone just needs to search the library and grab whatever it is on their mind that they need to go deeper. The just in time is, I'm a new seller and I'm having my first early stage call and the buyer is in this role and the lead I got is on that topic. And just in time training is, what do I need to know for that conversation? What am I going to say in that conversation? Is there something I should show in that meeting? And just the simplicity of thinking about, what am I going to know, what to say, what to show for that conversation? That's just in time. And for a seller, they appreciate that. Like in that moment, they're not looking for the next course. They don't want to watch something for 30 minutes. They just need snippets. They need tools. They need simple messages they can use in that moment of truth. But that's definitely been what we've seen organizations gravitating towards.
And that's interesting as far as and kind of brings to the next point, the power of peer-to-peer. For some of that just-in-time content, we've seen a huge amount of organizations leveraging peer-to-peer kind of content. So saying, okay, how can we capture moments from recorded sales calls where it's a rep delivering a message so exactly how we want everybody to deliver it? Or maybe it's here's, we ran a certification, a messaging certification where everybody was sending in videos of themselves delivering the pitch. And then we've got a couple really good examples of talk tracks here that we can pull into a library just in time and make that available. Because salespeople, especially, new hires, it's like learning from when you're going through a course and you're hearing your trainers speak and it's great. But then when you hear, okay, now we're going to watch an example from the field, or now we're going to hear from our top salesperson how this person does, XYZ, that is just so powerful.
Yeah, agreed. I haven't heard that term moments, but I really like that. When I think of a moment, I think of something short, something, it's a snippet.
Yeah.
And it's that moment that, hey, if you watch this little 2 or 3 minute thing, you're going to get a lot of value. It's useful. It's something you'd remember and could apply in the real world. That's cool.
Yeah, it's key. And then, it's about breaking off from the real world experience, and we've got so many sources now of being able to capture that. For sales, we advocate video. We see a lot of organizations, and I know you guys do too at DSG, for capturing. There's just certain information and for a talk track, right? If you're going to say, okay, here's a talk track for this particular thing, is it better to have it written out or to have a 2-minute video of a person speaking it? It's just so much more powerful for the sales rep. Yeah. So, and then these last 2 points, designing your learning library, just making sure that you've got all of the materials broken out in a way that is easily accessible. Maybe it's in playbooks that are just, per scenario. Maybe it's like Tanner, to the example you gave of like a rep is going in and there's a particular, maybe it's captured in the CRM system that here it's this product and this competitor, and here was what the lead coming in was about, what the ebook topic was, and then okay, let's surface some recommendations of content for them there, right? So situationally, but part of that is saying, okay, how are we putting together a taxonomy of information architecture based on how our sales reps access information? What do they need? Is it by industry? Is it more by persona? Are they thinking by scenario or challenge? Right there. Yeah.
Do you see one that's the most common? Like they're trying to organize it around buyers or trying around products or around like what become the most common?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if for more B2B companies, you see industry, you see a lot of times folks breaking stuff out by industry, and then I'd say probably by industry. And then the number 2 would be by kind of scenario. So it's like, this particular, this product, and maybe it's by a product as well. Like, this product for this audience, or, this play for the, dividing it up by, really typically industry, and then probably the second scenario.
That's great. Yeah.
Great question. Good. Yeah. All right, so yeah, I think we'll continue moving along here. Want to talk about everboarding, and again, thinking in terms of of how are we designing our program so that it feeds into the learning and the development and the coaching and the different things that the salespeople are doing on the job when they get out of the onboarding program and they're still ramping, right? And so it's thinking in terms of if you start all the way to the right here, so this is a chart going up into the right, but think first in terms of this. What can we do here for learning in the flow of work? What kinds of, obviously some deep, topic that requires requires a lot of background, and maybe it's brand new to folks. That's not so much something you can break off and put for learning in the flow of work, but you want to think of that beforehand, before you start designing some of these other ones going back, the core training and the playbooks. And so that's kind of one of the things that we stress big time is like, okay, think in terms of what you can break off and put in sort of at the point of need. And so Tanner, I know you guys do a lot of really cool stuff around capturing subject matter expert videos and making information available to folks. And I think you're going to talk a little bit more about that, but how does that kind of play into, what you guys are seeing as far as folks doing more of these an everboarding kind of a program?
Yeah, I'd kind of connect these two. And so kind of this notion of learning in the flow of work, I think of just the flow for a seller's things like get a meeting, qualify an opportunity, get from someone low level to someone that's more strategic in the account, but there's specific things they have to do to get to, I'm closing a deal. And the more that can be, we like the term playbooks, but there's a million terms for it. It's just the notion of a kit. Like I've got a kit that in that situation gives me, here's how you're going to get the meeting because you're focused on retail industry and you're trying to do front end of the sales cycle. It's all SMB. Here's what you need to be successful. That's learning in the flow of work and boiling it down into a simple, training playbook that gives them guidance on here's what you're going to send somebody. Here's what you're going to say to them. Here's what you're going to show. Here's why you're doing this. Here's a video of someone on the team that's an awesome salesperson telling you how they did it and it worked. And that just becomes very practical and becomes very memorable.
That's cool. And it's kind of like the, you can think about that example of, okay, the stuff that we're breaking off into the kit or into the, stuff that we're making available at the point of need in the flow of work is more of the maybe different flavors of a particular piece of messaging, right? Maybe we launch, so going over to the core training, when we launch the messaging, it's like, okay, we think in terms of what can we break off, for on the right here for the, in the flow of work. And, we know that, these two personas, it's going to be 90% of the time that's who we're talking to and that's who this product's for. But maybe 10% of the time there's this other persona that we do want to give them information on. That's the kind of stuff that you break it off. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So that's cool.
And the reason, Jake keeps asking about video. We do so much video. Like we have a passion around video, and that's just sellers consume a lot of video and they love video, and that brings so much of this content to life when they can just watch something short and sweet, but it's useful.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. And I'd love to hear more about that as we go too. And then just-in-time content. This is kind of like what we've been talking about. And then as far as, okay, how do we source this content? And there are different ways to do it. Tanner, you guys do, you guys help with, okay, let's plot out what's the original sort of, what are the kind of the key themes and the key people that our salespeople want to hear from, and then kind of collecting a base of really more high quality video content, and then saying from there, okay, and more like higher production value a little bit, but then from there it's like, okay, how do we then as things change, right? That kind of the core set of, you maybe go around to your subject matter experts and get cameras and come in and say, okay, we're going to add, we've collected across the reps and they want to hear about this and this from you. And then let's go. We'd love to hear from you. And then capture that. And then you get a library of those from all different folks. And that's going to be the stuff where you're going around with the camera crew. There's going to be evergreen material that you're going to want to kind of capture with those that is going to be, ongoing. And so that's kind of your first step. And then from there, we talk a lot about enabling this kind of crowdsourcing of video content as well, sort of on an ongoing basis. So as things change, or as a salesperson has a success over here, you can set it up so that the CRM pings that person when they close a deal, and then it sends them a thing where they have to capture a quick video on their iPhone and shoot it into the system. So it's kind of crowdsourcing, but those are some of the kinds of things. I mean, it's about, starting off with, thinking in terms of who are the folks that reps want to hear from, capturing videos from them, and then empowering all of your salespeople to capture video content when they encounter something new, or maybe, like I said, triggering it so that way when they change the stage in the CRM, they get a prompt and they just have to hit one button. It's really, really easy on their phone or desktop, any app, and just send it into the system and it gets routed to the right places. They don't have to think about it. So those are, and then also another kind of source for these things, for capturing this kind of content, is through conversation intelligence technology is a big, so much of the sales process now is happening on video conference. And so now you've got all this footage of great examples of best practice that you can break off and make available into this kind of bite-sized information.
That's great. One thing to kind of extend from that, when we think of that kit that's been partly crowdsourced, partly designed in a workshop with the right people, it's important to kind of say, well, why is it being created that way, and how does it come together in a way salespeople will use it? It's just important to always remind ourselves that salespeople aren't by nature searching for another training course. And so that's not their top priority. There may be a training course they need to go through and we're going to mandate it, but that's not what they're searching for. Like, they're not going into a portal saying, I really need that 1 hour course in that product. That's not what they're doing. And so for a seller, and this is just a mock-up of how we think about it, there's lots of ways to organize content. We think about back to the situational we've been talking about, what industry, what product. Let's just say you are that new rep and your meeting is going to be with marketing. And it's one of your first calls, and you're only assigned one product right now. You don't have the whole portfolio. What is it you've got to know about marketing's world? What's the short training video that's one of the best sellers explaining how she talks to marketing in 90 seconds? And a tool that would be perfect for that kind of a conversation, the kind of messages and questions you would ask. It's about bringing together that just-in-time training that says, hey, here's what you need for that situation. And then you're scratching both itches. The ones that just in time in the moment, but you still have the content library of everything else they're going to need. But this gives them that moment of truth content that makes them smarter, creates that confidence. When we don't want sellers to kind of fall into the attrition world, when we're trying to get them productive as fast as possible, this is the kind of content that we have to put in front of sellers.
That's great.
One other comment here. So we obviously a big theme of this webinar is video. When we track and just look at the analytics, video gets consumed more than anything else by the salespeople we track. And so on the one hand, you have the videos that you're just capturing right after the call, get on your phone, submit it, and people are hungry for that kind of content. Just show me what's working, show me what people are saying. And then there's the more produced content where you get your best people, and whether it's recording through Zoom or you're doing it on site, you're capturing that smart person on your team sharing, here's how I did it. Here's what great looks like. Here's what, when we beat this competitor last week, here's what we did and how we did it. Someone's leading a video call and you're recording. What does it look like to lead that excellent video meeting? I think that for salespeople, sometimes the trap is with video is we think about getting every word right. And I'm reading a script and it's corporate and it's approved and it's 10, 15, 20 minutes long, and salespeople zone out. You just think about the video we all watch. We go to YouTube and you want to learn how to reverse sear a steak, and you watch a 2-minute video and now you can go reverse sear a tenderloin. Or you want to fix the little knob on the toilet and you watch the 2-minute video and now you're the plumbing expert and you go fix it. It's the same way for a seller. Sometimes it's just that 2-minute video, really focused, really accurate, really helpful, and then they can go do it and replicate it. But the video is definitely central to when you just survey salespeople. You think, what helps you learn? They're definitely going to be tools. It's going to be reading. There's going to be responding, but just watching. It's so powerful.
That's so cool. It brings the field experience to life. I mean, that's the thing. And especially as a salesperson, the job is so much around, it's so much more than just being able to recite information, right? There's just so much nonverbal and things that you can only capture with video.
Yes, totally. Asynchronous.
Yeah. So speaking of video, this is a way that we have seen a lot of organizations, being able to capture a lot of this stuff and sort of do more in a live training session, leveraging this kind of video content. So it's about, capturing, so if you're going to have a live session during your onboarding where maybe there's a key subject matter expert who, you want to make sure that they're getting in front of the new reps, or maybe you have some session that's really important during the onboarding, and you want to make sure that people are coming in primed and ready to go. It's pre-recorded. Take some of the information, instead of for the first 15, 20 minutes of that session where you're delivering information, capture that onto video and send that out beforehand. So that way, when you actually get onto the live call, you can jump into more substantive discussion and actually maybe doing role plays and things of that nature. So again, coming back to leveraging video for sales knowledge, and then making that available to reps to kind of smooth their journey, make their onboarding journey go faster and more effective.
Agreed.
And then driving connection and culture. So this is another area that we've seen a lot. Again, in the remote environment, it becomes more of a challenge. And again, leveraging technology using video, things where it's like, okay, how can we bring more of a human connection in an environment where we're all remote? It's about, going through and saying, okay, which of our leaders do people want to hear from? And we see across organizations a lot of, the leadership will create a weekly or a weekly or bi-weekly just update video, especially when things are like times of big change. Like when the pandemic first hit, we saw so many organizations, they're, the CEO, it's very senior executive leadership creating videos just as a video message update. 5 minutes, here's what we're thinking here. It drives such engagement with the employees. And then for new hires, it's like, if going through onboarding, if you can capture videos from the key leaders in the company, it just, if you've got a top leader coming on and talking about why they're so passionate about the products and the company, it's a really great way to kind of to drive faster, acculturation and and it's kind of funny. One of the like in our organization in Allego, we use our own tool, obviously, and I'm kind of like our video person. I'm our product marketing person, always kind of historically, and so I capture tons of videos of just 2 minutes on this topic, or here's what I'm thinking about this, and it just goes into recommendation feeds and it's showing up here and there. And so every person we talk to, every new hire says, "Wow, Jake, I feel like I know you already, and I've never, when I'm first meeting them, and it's because my face has been on video." So that just those kinds of things, it's powerful to drive culture.
Yeah, and this is one of those where we'll work with clients and we'll have created content with their leadership team. We'll have filmed people on their leadership team, and it's great when you built it. But then sometimes for leaders, it's, hey, that was a big initiative, really excited in the moment, but they don't sustain it, and then it falls apart. And then it becomes static, it becomes dated, it's no longer current, and then everybody starts ignoring it. And so I think you're pointing to something that both it's an accelerator when it's leaders stay engaged, it becomes a real inhibitor when we don't have leadership kind of all over it in a sustained way, realizing that the onboarding and the everboarding really depend on their focus and involvement. Not tons of time, but if they'll spend the right time on it, it'll create long-term impact.
Yeah, and that's cool. It's like giving part of it too is making sure that it's easy for the key leaders to be able to kind of create these video updates and just kind of driving the behavior too. Like you said, starting out, it's such a good, starting out, you really got to have a lot of process around it, especially capturing from your top people. You want to have it, you want to kind of design that and make sure that, you're kind of scheduling that out. But then as an ongoing basis, enabling them with a tool that, they can make easy updates like that, and then just kind of showing them the value of it, showing them, okay, here's we see a lot of, sales enablement folks, or, going around and kind of being the shepherd of capturing this information from leadership and then making it available on video to the reps. And It's just so powerful. It's awesome. All right. So I think we are at the end here, and Marcus, I don't know if you want to jump back in, but we are, I hope you found this useful. We've got a couple cool resources for you to check out. We've got Mastering Hybrid Learning. It's an ebook by Allego, and this is something that we've been working on for a while, and it really encapsulates a lot of this kind of learning in the flow of work. How to think about leveraging peers and peer learning and content to drive more connection, all the stuff that we talked about today. So I hope you find this useful. And Tanner, did you want to kind of speak to you guys' resources here?
Yeah, sure. The short version is sales coaching is so central to onboarding and everboarding. This was a short piece. We put together a brief, and I think it'll be useful for those of you who are trying to figure out how to weave coaching into all this.
they've got to connect. That's the key. You've got to, they're coming right out of onboarding and continuing that development through the coaching. So that's great.
So I did have a couple questions if you guys have a few minutes to answer them. What are some tips for people who are camera shy? Thought that was a good one.
Tanner, any thoughts? I'd love to hear.
Well, I definitely, we create playlists for video. And so I think they're, on the one hand, when you're creating video that you want to kind of stick around for a little bit, just a little bit more polished, you really create the playlist around the people with big personalities that want to be captured. Like, it's okay to acknowledge that some people have energy, have presence. That's just who they are, and pursue those individuals. The camera shy, I mean, I sometimes just interviewing somebody and like somebody else asking the questions and getting them energized and focused, and that all of a sudden they're not thinking about being captured, they're just talking to somebody else. So we have like a video crew that will be off camera, either through Zoom or in person. And there's just let's just talk and get them talking more and ask the same question a few times, come back to this, talk about it again. And eventually they just get into a conversation. And then you get those little bites of content along the way that they just kind of went into the natural flow of what they're good at, which is have a conversation, and they get away from, I'm on camera and I've got to say it all perfect.
That's all. That's really valuable. It's about designing around that, thinking there's always going to be folks on your team who are more outgoing and less camera shy. And then for the folks who are, it's about saying, okay, let's get it into a conversation, get them. I mean, they're talking about, and they may be camera shy, but they're talking about a subject area that they love and that they're good at. So it's about building on that. Sounds like that's cool.
And people are looking for their subject matter expertise, not their camera orientation. And so people look for good content, and that's just important to remind people.
That's cool. One of the other things that we've seen on this topic is when we first came to market, 10 years ago or whatever it was, with, our platform is very much based on crowdsourced video and things like that. So this was always a question we would get. What if my reps don't want to go on camera? We also, we built stuff in the platform. We see a lot of organizations using it where if folks don't want to necessarily go on camera, you can do just a avatar, and we're just recording their voice, or even doing over PowerPoint if they're more comfortable doing that. If you've got folks who, they've got great information, but and again, that approach is not as good for the initial volley of getting the high production quality content. You do need to get them on video for that. But as for the ongoing, that's an option as well. Using
the voiceover slide is great.
Yeah,
we've seen good momentum around that. As long as it's short, the voiceover slides can be awesome.
Yeah, and then people are comfortable, and great question.
Is this something that you guys are seeing as far as like leaders choosing these skills when they're hiring reps? Like, are they more prone to take somebody that is, not camera shy?
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that either, but I will say there's probably got to be some built-in change there or increase in that among people hiring, just because we all know like it's becoming more, everything is happening over video conference now. So it's like, if you're camera shy, there's almost less there's more of an expectation to get over it.
That's interesting. I thought you meant like camera shy in the sense of like, will you let me record videos of you sharing insights? You're talking about, can they get on a video call? I think 100% of our clients, like the interviews are always going to have at least a few video interviews. I mean, even for our team, like we're looking for a great video interview, because if you can't do that, then you're going to struggle.
And that's the thing, as you're more comfortable with video, then that makes it easier for folks to be like, this is the thing that the question around what if my reps won't record? What if I can't get them to get on video? That we've watched that over time, like, years past, that was much more of a concern. Since the pandemic hit, folks, it's much easier to just, folks are much more used to being on camera now, I guess is the point. So, but
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
we don't make it, just making it not optional part of your culture. If someone comes in for an interview, everybody else is going to be on video. It's just part of our culture.
Yeah.
And we'll still meet companies where we'll join meetings and nobody joins the camera. And I think it's a problem. So if your company's not yet embracing, like if you join a video call or a Zoom, 100% of the time you're on video, I think that's a problem.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So I think that's gonna do it. There will be a replay, Jennifer. I'll shoot that out within a day or two. Any last minute comments, guys, before we wrap up?
No, Marcus, thank you for making all this happen. Jay, great to collaborate with you and participate with you today.
Yeah, this is great, Tanner. Great insight sharing, and thanks for everything. And thank you, Marcus.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Remember, there is a 3-question survey at the end, and I will send out this on-demand recording either today or tomorrow. And then special thanks to Tanner and Jake. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you.